Thank you for joining us today for our EdTech Café. It's going to be on best practices for consistent course design and tips for Ultra. Today, I'm going to be co-hosting with April. My name is Ron Rodriguez. I'm one of the instructional designers here at the University of Miami. I specifically work with the BGS program, which is a Bachelor's of General Studies. However, I do some work with the School of Education as well as kinesiology.
I'm April, and I'm also one of the instructional designers here at the Division of Continuing and International Education, and I oversee all of our projects in the non-credit courses program, and I do also provide some help and guidance in our credit courses.
Thank you, April. Just a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to start off with elements of consistent course design. Then we're going to move into tips for intuitive organization in Ultra specifically. And then I'm going to go into maximizing settings in Ultra. And then finally, we're going to have a Q&A. You'll have an opportunity to, if you have a sandbox or a course open right now on Blackboard and that you'd like to practice with, we'll hold off to the end and answer any questions that you may have regarding Ultra, or if it's an original view as well.
So to begin our presentation, I'm going to be focusing on elements of consistent course design. So as you may already know, students are doing a lot of independent work and self-directed learning. So having a consistent course design will be very beneficial to all. It will improve usability and minimize cognitive overload, since your students can focus on engaging with the course materials and applying knowledge. This means that they don't have to exert any effort in looking for resources and information within your course, because everything's so structured, organized, and consistent. Therefore, you'll be able to give them all the support that they need, and most importantly, they can really focus on gaining the knowledge and the skills they need to have in order to achieve the learning outcomes you have set. So in our division, we normally suggest and encourage our faculty to follow a consistent course design. And this is how we laid out every time we help build and design courses. And you'll be able to see this more in detail in Ultra. But just to give you a bird's overview, we normally encourage them to provide learning objectives, and then also utilize backward design. So again, this is just a great way for the faculty to really reflect and think about what they want their students to achieve a mastery on when they're designing the weekly lessons or the lessons throughout the semester. So the way backward design works is you think about your learning outcomes. And then from there, you're gonna go backwards and think about how will your instructional materials, your videos, the research articles that you'll be sharing with them, how will that fit in, how will that align with the learning objectives? At the same time, once you are once you know that, then you can also design your assessments so that you'll have a way to measure your students' performance, whether they were able to achieve those learning outcomes or learning objectives. And again, you might be already familiar with this. When writing learning objectives, we try to use the Bloom's taxonomy. We refer to the Bloom's taxonomy, so we can write measurable learning objectives. Now, when it comes to the organization of the course content, it's really straightforward. Every week, or it also depends on how or the way the faculty structures their content. But we normally provide the students an overview or an introduction of the topic for that particular unit or learning module, and then they're provided with the associated or relevant learning materials, and the tasks are clearly outlined for them within that unit. and then as well as the supplementary materials that they need so that they'll be able to do their assessments with success. Now, when it comes to the to-do list, again, we provide this within the learning module, so everything's clear to the students. They know what what their instructor or teacher expects of them. It matches the syllabus. And again, this is just like some tips that we share with our faculty when you're developing your course content. And if it's within a page or a document, we recommend to avoid writing the specific dates within the course content, since most of these materials are actually reused for upcoming semesters or terms. And plus, Blackboard allows you to specify the due dates anyway when it comes to your assessments and activities. Now, to just illustrate this consistent course design and intuitive organization specifically to Blackboard Ultra, I'm now going to go ahead and go to a sandbox in Ultra. So as you can see, the course content is organized into a weekly module. Again, sometimes our naming conventions varies. It really depends on the faculty we're working with. Sometimes our faculty prefers using modules for their naming conventions, or sometimes they would like to use lessons or units. So again, it really depends on how you want to structure your content, but this is basically how it's laid out. So these are the elements that I've just mentioned earlier. We have the overview for the students. And again, it could be a brief introduction of the course or an introductory video, a short video to introduce them to the topic for that particular unit. Then the learning objectives are provided so the students will know what are the things they need to accomplish or achieve and their to-do list. Next, it's followed by the learning materials. So it could be a video, readings, external links that the students need to review, read prior to your face-to-face discussion, or perhaps your Zoom discussion, or perhaps you'll be assigning a group work. So everything's provided for them ahead of time. So that's like the beauty of having a learning management system or a platform. All of the asynchronous content can be accessed by your students at any point in time. And if you notice, since this is the week 1 learning module, everything's contained in that learning module. It includes the assignment, the discussions, and the test for the week if applicable. Now, I'll just would like to show you the difference again, since you're quite new to Ultra. We normally design all of our learning units or weekly modules as a learning module as opposed to the folder. And this is the reason why. If I go to a student preview, you'll see the user interface for our students. If it's built as a learning module, your students will have the ability to click from one page to the next. So when I view week 1 overview, on the top, you'll see the page navigation, which makes it easier for them to go from one page to the next. Now, when it's a folder, what happens is that they have to close the page each time they need to go to another lesson or material that you have provided for them. So that's just something that we would like to share. But again, it's up to you how you want to design the course or build your content. And just to briefly show you where you can how you can start building a content. In Ultra, you'll see the plus sign. So it means that you'll be able to add content. So for instance, and you can add it in the middle, on the top, or at the bottom of a page, but it's not really super evident. So when you hover, that's the time you'll see that feature. Once you click the plus icon, you can just select create. And from there, you can choose to add a learning module or a folder. So in this case, I'm just gonna add a learning module, and then it's automatically hidden to your students. And you have a way to batch edit everything, meaning to say, once you're done building the content, you will have the ability to make everything visible to the students all at once without having to do it one at a time. Once that's built, now you can add a description to your learning module. And then from there, you can add additional content, such as a document. A document is the equivalent of an item in Ultra. So before I pass this to Ron, do you have any questions so far?
Okay, I had to find the unmute button. No, yeah, I think it looks good. I mean, do you always recommend organizing this by week? Is that the easiest way? Because right now I have my class set up. I just have I have like the left-hand navigation column, and then I have, like compositions, exams. I have the different categories of assignments. But I don't have it organized by week. They have a syllabus that has the course schedule. But I mean, do you feel that this is the best way to help the students kind of just find everything in one place, just going to the week? Okay.
Yes, it's because then, for instance, also in your case, for instance, if there are additional content that you will add throughout the semester, it will also be easier for you to manage your class and your students. Like, you can simply post an announcement and tell them, please go to week 2 or week 3, and there's an additional information that you'll find there. We also have some faculty who prefers, when it comes to the intersession courses, the winter intersession courses are coming up. And for that particular type of course, it's organized into days, since they have to meet on a daily basis. But if, for instance, if you want to also divide your course according to your topic throughout the semester that you'll be teaching with your students, then if you prefer that, you can also do that, like by themes, by lesson, by topics, whatever makes more sense.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So now I'm gonna let Ron.
Excellent. Thank you, April. And like you were saying, just to follow up, the naming convention really comes down to the choice of the instructor, whatever they feel more comfortable and how they present their material. They can represent it, like she said, in modules. I've had people who call it units. I've had people who call it weeks. I've had people who call it days. So it's really determined by what the instructor wants and how they feel their material is presented better. If they feel like they have a lot of material, they'll call it modules. And like, for example, over the fall, they'll have 8 modules and run one module 2 weeks at a time. 8 times 2, that's a 16-week semester right there, plus or minus any holidays. But it gives you the idea of how you want to present it. It really comes down to you.
Okay, yeah, because I have, most of my classes are they stay on schedule pretty well, but every now and then, I get a class where the students just need a little bit of extra help, and sometimes we're a day behind. So I was thinking, the week, then they might say, well, the weeks don't match up or something. So then if I were to, I could organize it like by chapter or by grammatical.
Yeah, you can use chapter as well. Like I said, the naming convention really comes to you and what you feel fits your material better. I'm sorry, because you were telling April right when I was jumping on, what subject do you teach?
I teach first and second year Spanish. So like, you know, grammar and vocabulary pretty much.
Yeah, and see, like that kind of material in my mind would be like, okay, you may want to do it in units, just thinking like
Right.
you want to do like an alphabet, you want to work on sentences. I don't know. It's just something for you to think about how you want to present your material.
Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking that, you know, because each chapter that they do has a different theme. And then at the end of the chapter, we have a test. So I'm thinking probably it would make sense to organize by chapter then. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly, it would fit. I'm going to move in real quick into settings, specifically settings in Ultra and how they work. And you're familiar with, you know, the original version of Blackboard. And a minute, all those settings plus a couple of additional ones you'll find here in Ultra. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm using the same sandbox course that April and I were sharing for one of our coworkers. So I'm going to go and use an example assignment that we had put in. So when an assignment is created, the information will show up here with the directions of what they need to do and the submission portal for the student to either upload or type in their responses. However, if you have due dates that you want to add, you want to change the category of where if it's going to be considered an assignment, if it's part of a group of assignments, grading convention, are we going to do points? Are we going to do a percentage? All those things are found right here on the right-hand side. You could go directly into the wheel, which is obviously would be your settings because that's what stands out the most. But Ultra puts out the most commonly used functions. But what's really interesting is that regardless of which one of these categories you decide to choose, I'll go ahead and choose, for example, the due date, which is a common one that you have to complete by a certain time. It obviously automatically takes me to the due date where I could click on the calendar and the time to adjust it. And then if you notice, if I scroll down, all the other options are available. I started here at the due date because I just wanted to point out a couple of things. For example, that one of the main ones that I really like about Ultra is that besides your due date here, there's a box that you could check right here, and it's called Allow Class Conversations. And what Allow Class Conversation does is that it actually creates sort of like a mini chat room. It's not graded or anything, but it only pertains to your assignment. So for example, you give out the instructions about an assignment, you need to research here and 4 resources and maybe an interview with someone. You have a list of items to do. Students are going to be looking and be like, oh, I wonder what my other student did. How did you handle it? Who did you talk to? What was your resource? And the assignment allowing class conversations allows like a mini conversation that you can monitor as an instructor, but it specifically is for the settings. I mean, it's following the settings, but it's specifically for that assignment to talk about the actual assignment before I even do the assignment. So it's a nice way to get the students to interact. And that was something that we didn't find or have in the original view. So something to think about if you decide to use it. Other settings that you'll find, these are not applicable here because this is actually an assignment. But if let's just say, for example, this were an exam or quiz, we could, like in the original view, you would find randomize your questions, randomize the answers. Interesting enough, you could collect your submissions offline. As I work my way down, the grading category, is this assignment really going to fall under an assignment, or is it really a test, or are you going to call it an exam? Maybe you have exams and tests, so you could actually differentiate them within the course itself. If it's an exam or some assignment, you could allow multiple attempts. And when you do pick 2 or more attempts, it will bring up the option if you want to keep the highest grade or keep an average of the grades. If there's multiple attempts, that option will come up there as well. Your grading scheme, are you going to use points, percentage, letter? And whether or not you use points or percentage, right here, points would switch over to percentage, and you would put in, maybe this is worth 5% of your grade, 10% of your grade, whatever it may be, that would be in here as well. Your options for anonymous grading, you could hide the student's name, evaluation options, peer review, if that's something that was going to be included in a group project or something, would be found here. This is an assignment, so it's not applicable. Automated question feedback. Really like this one. We have it in original view here, but it's really nice to have as well back to they brought it into Ultra. So if they say they got something wrong on an exam, you give them the reasoning why. Why did I get this wrong? So it continues that learning process for the students. Your question scores are going to be found here. on whether, and you could also show if you want to show the correct answers, and there's like a date and time that you could do that. One thing that comes up in some of my courses, especially in our kinesiology classes, is they ask, is Lockdown Browser still available in Ultra? Yes, it is. Students would still be directed to IT to download the actual Lockdown Browser, and it would work just the same as it did in original view. Time limit, if you're having an exam or a quiz, you would set your time limits here. If you have a rubric that you want to use, you'll be able to add the rubric. Students can see the rubric before they submit or complete an assignment. It'll be found here. If you need to align something with goals, you would go into this option. It does bring up a lot of goals and standards, and you could choose the ones if you have them written out, maybe in your syllabus or something that this pertains to. This would be your area right here. Groups, you could have group assignments as well. There's an option for it. Right now, this assignment is not set for that, so I can't show you, but it is there. One thing finally I do like to show you is description. Not only do when you have an assignment created, you obviously have the instructions for it, but you could actually include, excuse me, an optional description. And it's a short, sentence or two talking about the exam or talking about the assignment, or something that has to do with the directions that, maybe something at the last second you want to describe or suggest. Basically anything, it's open to you. I think there's a character limit. I can't remember the number exactly right now, but I wouldn't go over no more than like 2 sentences, I want to say, April, around those lines.
Yes, that's correct.
And then at the end, after you make any changes throughout here, or as many changes as you want, in the end, you would just literally just click save, and it saves all the settings that you made changes to. And that's really good because, like I said, you could also go into the gear, which starts here. But what's interesting is, let's just say I just want to adjust the points in grading. It actually scrolled down for me already, brings me right into grading. But if I scroll up to the top, I can start at the top, scroll to the bottom. So nice way that they set that up in Ultra for you. I do want to show you settings in one other category, and that's specifically with discussion boards. Because discussion boards usually they usually require a couple of posts and other people commenting on the post. So that also brings up the idea is that you don't want students just reading everybody else's responses, and then they just change a couple words, and then they're able to change it. So what you have here is you have a setting. Discussion activity is hidden until student posts a response. So you basically want them to post their original response after reading the question and giving an original response to their original post. Then it allows them to move on and go to other students in the class and respond to them, versus just let me just read everybody else what they wrote and change a word or two. So I wanted to bring that up to you. It also has a participate by date, which you could also call kind of like your due date, but you could actually set a hard due date as well. But a participation date is really important. So if your example, let's just say your module or week goes live on Monday, you want them to participate by Wednesday, and then it would be due like Saturday or Sunday by midnight. So you're kind of setting that goal along the way to keep the pace going. So not everybody's just commenting and posting on the last day of the discussion board week when it's due. So it's nice to have that participate by as well. April, I can't believe, I think you may have one other thing you want to share, or you did share it prior to me jumping on. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, just a banner image, which you can show. So now it's just like another improvement in Ultra recently. You can add a banner image, just like what you're seeing on top. So the image that you have in your course card will also correspond to the one within the course. This is just like a visual cue for your students, so they know that they're in the right course, especially if they have a lot of courses that's in Blackboard. And then, Ron, is it okay if you scroll down at the bottom, please, on the left menu? And then right here, at the bottom, you can add your course schedule. So again, it will help your students know your class schedules. It's right there. They don't have to look for their syllabus. You can add that. And if you have a virtual meeting room link that you will be using throughout the semester, you can also share it right within that area.
Yeah, it's really good because the students could pull up the calendar and literally just look at the entire month and know week by week, day by day, you know, what assignments are due, what do I have to do this week, if there's a big paper or the midterms coming up, things like that. It's great to have that course schedule on there because it could pretty much be a mirror image of your syllabus. Besides attaching it, they could actually just look at the course schedule as well. So it's a really good improvement there on the Ultra side. With that being said, we are in a small group. I wanted to open up the floor here for Q&A.